Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I was out doing a little bit of shopping this morning, which will lead us into today's video. I was at the thrift store this morning and I saw these two chunks of granite. One is really polished on the top surface, black with kind of a white stripe through it. Quite nice. The other is kind of a gray granite, not so polished on top, but smooth anyway. And then I got this little, it's a metal temple. It's cast out of, I'm not sure what it's cast out of, but it pops open like that. I don't know if you're supposed to put a candle in there or what, but anyway, kind of a decorative little temple. So I thought these might be useful for displaying accent plants on them or small bonsai. So I'm going to try out a few ideas with these. Here's a look at the black and white granite block with my Hinoki false cypress on top. It looks kind of interesting. Here's a look at my Cascade juniper on the slab. It looks okay. If you had an Arctic themed tree, here's the polar bear on top of the granite slab. It looks quite nice. The black and white matches really well. The white in the granite looks like snow. Keeping with the black and white theme, you could have a panda on top of the granite. On the gray granite, I could have my little Buddha figure, maybe an elephant, maybe a pot full of moss would look good. Maybe on the gray, even an old pickup truck. I'm not sure exactly what I'll use these granite stones for, but hopefully for some future bonsai display. I'll show you what I purchased in the store now. Here's what I bought in the store. They weren't very expensive. They're just little, I think this was from Michael's, the craft store. Let me open it up. So in here is a tool caddy. You can see it there, a wooden tool caddy. And then you get a bunch of little tools. There's some pruning shears there. You can stick them in the caddy like that. There's a little saw that can go in the caddy. Some gin pliers. A hammer. Not sure we use a hammer in bonsai too much. Another hammer. Put those in the back. A pipe wrench. An adjustable wrench. I don't think we use these in bonsai too much, and a screwdriver. So yeah, you can fill the tool caddy full of tools. And I bought it for my miniature bonsai bench, so I'll try it out on the bench. And I also got here, I got another little watering can. Now I have a watering can that was a nice size, so I don't know if this one will be too small. I thought, it was only, it was a couple of bucks, so I thought, well, I'll get it. I think it was $3 actually. So the watering can, if it's too small and I can't use it in the bench display, I might use it in a future display. It's made of metal, so it'll last a long time. So let's get out the bench now. Here is a look at my miniature bonsai bench. So let's get the tool caddy out. Well, that's not a bad size for it, actually. I think, it'll fit in quite nicely. The watering can, well, here's my other one. So this is sort of, if that was to scale, it'd be, a good medium-sized watering can. So the little one, it looks all right, actually. It could be a little miniature watering can for the really small trees, so I don't think it's too far out of scale. I have some new additions. I found some more of the little miniature pots that Tom sent me, and then I have the pots that Sophie made, which would also really look good on the bench. I think I'm getting too many blue pots on here, so I think these ones will add a lot of variety. So yeah, there's I can put like pots upside down on the bench, the shelf down here, and add more. So I'm thinking the display for this now. My original thought for displaying this bench was to get a picture frame, put it on the ground, and kind of fill the middle part of it up with soil and moss so the bench looks like it's on the ground outside. And then maybe having a few side benches around it, some display benches, either posts with trees on it or just some like blocks with wood slats on top, like a normal kind of outdoor bench that you would display bonsai on. So I was thinking maybe expanding it. I have enough miniature trees that I could add some to the sides, maybe even some larger ones in the front to kind of create a bit of forced perspective. I thought about a background. You know, I could build a little background for the thing, like a fence or something, or, you know, plaster more like a wall behind the bench. There's a lot of possibilities, and I think I will try one approach, and if I don't like it, then I'll try a different approach the next time I display it. So I'll just keep trying different display ideas until I find something that's really nice. I don't want it to look too I don't know. I guess I don't want it to look too fun. I want it to look kind of like a serious display. Eventually these trees in these small pots will start maturing and get better and better. And I want people to kind of look at the trees as if they're looking at a full-size bench, that the trees have enough interest that they'll go, oh, that's a really nice tree on the top shelf there, or I really like the tree on the bottom shelf. That kind of thing. I want the trees to be the stars, not how kind of miniature the display is. I don't know if that makes sense, but so I'm going to add on the bench here, I'm going to put some nails in the edge and add some coils of wire for wiring trees up. I'm going to add a lot of little details, maybe even a little stool out front. There's a lot of little details that I could add, you know, like a spray bottle, got a watering can. I'm going to moss up the trees for the show. I think it'll look quite nice. I was also thinking I'm going to add linseed oil to the bench. So I'm going to clear the bench off today, let it dry out, maybe give it a very light sanding, and then linseed oil it down so it's a little more waterproof. It has that aged patina now, so I think it's time to give it a little protection. I won't keep the trees on the bench for the whole year. It'll only be on the bench for displays. So the bench will kind of be retired like a bonsai stand, just kept in storage until it's needed for a show. I'll begin taking the trees off the bench now. Some of them need a water. I'll have to give them a watering today too. I usually water these twice a day. I just kind of mist them, keeping them moist but not too soaked. Oh, that jade's really coming along. The grass is growing really nicely too. That's kind of nice. The little Portulacaria afra is doing well. And my lantana, my Cascade lantana, it's doing quite well too. It's sprouting out all over. Tom sent me a whole bunch of tools too. So like I've got these little pruners here. I could replace, you know, maybe the adjustable wrench in the toolbox with the pruners, kind of making them more bonsai tools. There's a little spade here. I could replace one of the hammers with the spade, that's for sure. There's a little hole there. Plastic pot. Okay, so I'll brush the sand off the bench, and yeah, then I'll let it dry out and give it the linseed oil treatment. I was just trying my Hinoki false cypress out on the bench with the toolbox, a little watering can. That looks pretty cool. So you can see the holes in here. It's designed for, this was a toy workbench. It's even got my son's name on the bottom. It says Julian on the bottom, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so I could even cap off the top shelf with a strip of wood to kind of fill in these holes. The holes in the front are fine. Like I said, I might put some nails with some coils of wire. It'd be nice if I could get a little ruler, miniature ruler, and kind of attach it to the workbench. It's possible I could put some LED lights on the workbench, but I don't know. I don't think it'd ever be displayed at night, that's for sure. But there's a lot of possibilities, you know, to detail the workbench a bit, make it a little more miniature looking. So I'll let this dry a bit. It's pretty dry now, but I'll just let it dry some more, and then I'll add the linseed oil. So that'll be on maybe even tomorrow's video. Here's all my little miniature items for the workbench. Lots of cool little pots and trees. I'm going to finish up this video with some updates here in the glass greenhouse. Some of the recent ones that I've repotted just to see how the trees are doing. So here we go. I'll start down here in front of the heater. I have the baobabs here, 2 of them. You can see the green leaves on top here, looking really, really tasty. On the one beside it, the green tips are extending. I don't know if you can see that, but they are. They're extending quite nicely. Even the large one, which is actually in the plant room right now, it's getting green tips on it now too. So that's exciting that it's coming out of dormancy. Someone in the comments mentioned that if you put water with hot water, 40 degrees Celsius hot water, it helps stimulate them to come out of dormancy. So temperature is key, temperature and light, I would say. So that's good. My baobabs, all 3 of them, have survived the winter and are resuming growing, and they've also survived the repotting so far anyway. Let's head over to the seed trays next. So nothing happening with the pawpaws in here. However, in the polyhouse, let me show you one of the pawpaw seedlings there. So here in the polyhouse, I have a pawpaw seedling here that's sticking up out of the soil. Now I had this with one of my pawpaw seedlings last year. It came up out of the soil like this and just flopped over and died. However, maybe this one will survive. Pawpaw trees have huge leaves and they're totally unsuitable for bonsai, but they're rare. They're cool trees. I want to get a bonsai version on the go. Over here, I have my sugar maple forest. So most of the trees are doing really well. There's one back here. There's no sign of life on it. And the 3 up front here, the leaves started coming out and then they stopped. And this one might survive. It looks like it's still green, but the other 2, the leaves turn black. Now it could sprout out down below. I've had that happen on seedlings. The top dies off, but then after a while, I guess they grow roots and then they sprout out again. So I haven't lost all hope for these trees yet. They may still grow in the future. Next to that, I have my lavender that I got from Zinn. It's growing well. It's even flowering up here. There's flower buds forming, which is kind of exciting. That should make the greenhouse smell quite nice. Over in this corner, I've got my bald cypress. It continues to grow and look healthy after its repotting. My forsythia, they seem to be doing really well also. The winter jasmine down here, it's looking good. It's kind of getting branches on it. Hold on, let me get it focused here. Yeah, so it's looking good for a little tiny tree. Very interesting. Yeah, doing well. I've got some crab apples growing here, which is exciting. My Pyrenean oaks are doing well, or one oak. The wisteria, growing like a weed. It's recovered quite nicely from its repotting. The ferns here, continuing to grow, looking really cool. The royal oaks got some brilliant scarlet red color on the new leaves. That's kind of cool. They're doing well. Over here I've got my aloes, I don't know, what do they call it? A tiger bark aloe or tiger aloe. I think that's what it's called. They're doing really well. in the Sarah Rayner pot. Yeah, all the pups survived. Every one I planted, so that's amazing. The American elm in the corner here is just growing like crazy up top. Like, wow. So once those leaves kind of harden off, I'll prune it all back again and get a second flush of growth for the summer. What else have I repotted recently? Well, the bird's nest spruce continues to grow really well, look good. The pomegranate down there, it's leafing out really nicely. Good to see. I've moved my baobab style jade out here. It's doing well. My lemon tree here, it's got all kinds of new growth coming in on it. It's just shooting out everywhere. That's good to see. The crimson hawthorn, it's recovered from its repotting and is growing like crazy. So is the Korean maple here. So is the Russian olive. Looking good. Now let's go down below here and look at the field maple plantings. So here they are, all the seedlings. So this one's definitely growing. That one is the one that had a really good root system. The rest you can see are a little dark colored. The leaves are drooping a bit. They're kind of struggling, but it looks like they'll do all right. I think there's one back there. No, maybe a couple that aren't going to grow, but oh, there's another one here. I think that one it was like dead when I planted it, but yeah, I think they'll do quite well. I think I'll definitely get enough for a forest, that's for sure. All the other ones I planted and pruned. A native maple here. It's recovering and starting to grow. There's another one. Don't know what that tree is. It's growing. The little one down here, that was a maple, I think. It's growing. This maple's growing, or that might be a willow or something. I don't know. They're growing. All those, this group of 5 that I did here, they're all going to live. My Cascade lemon tree here, look at all the new growth on that. It's just incredible. It's got new leaves shooting out everywhere on it. That's really good to see also. Down here are the 2 maples that I potted up. I didn't touch the root system. I just changed the soil. Sort of a test to see, well, to test the theory that if you don't prune the roots, you can repot trees pretty well any time of the year. And you can see they've recovered. They're growing. I've got new growth on the tips. This one's really greening up and looking good, and there's some new growth on it also. So yeah, they survived that kind of out of season repotting just fine. Back in here, my hemlock with my happy bear. The hemlock is growing really well. It's got all kinds of new growth on it. So there's no drainage in that planter, so it stays quite wet, and the hemlock seems to really like that. Beside it is my trident maple here. It's growing like crazy, which is good to see. Down here is my rosemary, and it just continues to flower. It's been flowering kind of all winter. Looking good. The Douglas firs are doing really well, my larger ones, and the smaller one up here is all kinds of back budding. It's looking good. My Austrian pine here, doing really well, all kinds of back buds. It's amazing, actually. The strength of these Austrian pines is just amazing. I had 2 sacrifice leaders here that I was growing out. The one had a big long shoot on it, or candle, like this. And I noticed the candle was looking funny. And whenever a candle looks funny like that, if it's kind of wiggly and looks kind of not so plump, I always know there's a worm inside the candle eating it. So I squeezed the candle, and sure enough, inside was a grub or a worm eating the whole candle, killing the candle off. So I lost my extension on the end of this sacrifice branch, and that's happened twice now. I've got some back budding on that sacrifice branch here, and there are some buds here that'll grow. But I was hoping for strong growth on these sacrifice branches. This one's doing really well, but the front one isn't. Just I'm trying to thicken my trunk up and even out the bumpiness of the trunk. That's my goal with those sacrifice branches. I've got my fiddle leaf fig out here. It's looking really good. What a crazy bonsai. But, you know, I like it. It's unusual and different. Down here I've got my ash tree. It's growing well. I've got some crumpling on the leaves up top. I don't know what that's from. Who knows? My cotoneaster down here is flowering. Looking very nice. Over here are the boxwoods. Starting to get a lot of new growth on them. You can see the fresh new spring growth popping out. The main tree is a little reluctant, but that'll come. I did a lot of root pruning on that, so it'll gain strength in the future, and that canopy will eventually fill out. That was a look at some of the updates here in the greenhouse, some of my more recently repotted trees, just to see how they're doing. So today's video was kind of a video that's getting me thinking about the Toronto show, display ideas for my miniature bonsai workbench. And boy, the juices are flowing up here. I'm getting all kinds of cool ideas. I can't wait to put the display all together. So that will be coming, maybe even starting tomorrow. So I'm very excited. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.